at least some skills on the offensive side of the ball to where he can be a contributor in the NBA, or at least for the Celtics for the time being. So, one fun matchup to watch if you two or if you are tuning into this matchup here is that Evan Turner and Ken Bazemore are free agents in the offseason. And this is, as you know, the salary cap is going up, and it's going to be a lot of money to be thrown out. So it'll be interesting to see how they audition for a new contract with their current teams or any other teams that are on their radar. Going to be, I'm pretty sure, going to be watching these playoff series to see how they react and how they're going to play if they want to offer them a contract to come to their team, respective team. So as far as this series here, like I say, you got the Hawks leading 3-1. I believe the Celtics are a solid team. They're up and coming. Nice little talent. I think they're a little undersized. You do have to go against the tandem of Al Horford and Paul Millsap. Could present a little bit of problems for them. They've been solid, though, and they're well coached. Brad Stevens, who I've been giving none but praise to getting this team, I think, who overachieved a little bit to the playoffs with a solid winning record and everything like that. So, but I do think they come up short against the Hawks. The Hawks have this little bit more experience and everything like that, and I think it's going to pan in their favor. And I believe they'll pull this out in 6 games. I got enough respect for the Celtics that I think they can win 2 games. But overall, I think I got the Hawks winning 4-2. Move to the West. And the Wild Wild West that used to be Wild Wild West is not as wild as it used to be anymore. So you're looking at the West, and the first series we're going to start off with is the Golden State Warriors at the Houston Rockets. This is the rematch of the Western Conference Finals last year. How it had changed between these two teams here. A lot happened in 1 year, and and let's start off with Golden State, who bounced into the record books, standing atop of the most wins in regular season history with 73, defeating the Grizzlies the night before. So with that, and on the flip side, you got the Houston Rockets, who is the 8th seed, struggling to get into the playoffs. There's been issues as far as the coach got fired and Kevin McHale. Bernie Bickerstaff has been the replacement coach. There's been issues as far as Dwight Howard. Don't know if he's going to stay there. Talking about that he wanted James Harden trade. It was just a whole nother soap opera wherever Dwight Howard goes, and this not to exclude James Harden too. He's just a part of it as well. But this is one of the teams I thought for sure that they're solid. They got a couple pieces coming back. I didn't think it was going to be the 8th seed. I thought they were definitely going to be in the running for at least the top 5 seeds, and but they started up the season slow, and they was out of playoffs for a little bit, so they made this run to get back into it and push it. So I would have loved to see the Utah Jazz in this spot. But anywho, you have the Houston Rockets, who are in a disarray team, and they're in this spot, and we're going to go with it. So the Houston Rockets, who does rank 21st in three-point defense, does not bode well against the top shooting team in the NBA. So that's one thing that you can look at as far as the Rockets having problems, that you give up a lot of issues you give up a lot of problems on the three-point line against one of the best shooting teams. And this season definitely, and probably said the last decade. I'm not going to go into some matter. We can debate about this all day, but they're definitely one of the most prolific shooting teams that we have seen. So you got the Warriors, who swept the season series. This year they had 3 games against each other, and only one game was close. New Year's Eve, it was 114 and 110. The other 2 games that they played were won by double digits and was seen to be paced already at a certain time of the game where it was already over. So the Rockets also are 27 in turnovers and 26 in assist to turnover ratio. That also does not bode well for them, because the Warriors like to take advantage of turnovers, and as far as that, they like to go on a fast break. You got one guy, Stephen Curry, who can handle the ball. You got Draymond Green, who can also handle the ball on the run, who's been getting triple doubles like crazy. I believe he's second in triple doubles this season behind Russell Westbrook. But you got this team that's talented, and they like to take advantage of turnovers and get on the break and push you, and the pace is going up, and you get back and try to guard this team here, and it's just too late. They already got the ball at the court, and they're looking to not shoot layups, but shoot threes, and they do it at a horrific rate, as I mentioned before. So this series here, James Harden gets you one game. There's nothing more to be said. I can't imagine a collapse from the Golden State Warriors, who won 73 games against this team, who is in disarray. Who knows what's going to happen in the offseason with the Houston Rockets. So be glad you got there. You got the wrong matchup. And this is going to be a quick series. James Harden gets you one game, as I said. There's nothing more to add to this. Another series that we can talk about is the San Antonio Spurs and the Grizzlies. Spurs are the second seed in the West. And you got the Grizzlies, who are the seventh seed in the West as well, playing against each other. Spurs had a franchise best in history, won 67 games and got 15 losses. I think that'd be pretty impressive, but with the team that I talked about before, just won 73 games, so for them to not be talked about it much, because 67 wins is still pretty darn impressive, regardless of what you're going on. But there's just so much overshadowing this that you got one team that won 73 games, so nothing really to spend on that. But nonetheless, it's definitely impressive for the Spurs to win 67 games and push themselves into contention of getting into the playoffs here. So they seem to be rolling the whole year, and Popovich does what he does by resting his players and kind of going with the rosters and filling and using all the way to the 12th man and get everybody involved and have bodies available until the playoff comes around. So kudos to them to doing that and achieving that goal, and they got the second seed in the West. So they face a team that's been, I guess you can say their star players are on medical leave, if you want to use such a term. But you got Marcus Gasol, who's been out since February with a broken bone in the right foot, and Mike Conley joined him in March. So the two studs that they boast and everything like on their team is on the shelf. So you got no Conley, no Gasol. Grizzly that time as well, they was holding on to the fifth spot in the West and was playing solid for the most part and was able to hold on to a playoff spot, but they did drop down to 7. So you imagine that regardless who they would have faced because of the injuries there, you got the Clippers and you got the Spurs, so it's kind of like, well, you have a better chance of certain teams, but you're still going to end up losing. Sorry, I kind of gave my prediction already, but you got Kawhi Leonard, who is having a spectacular season. Most specifically, what the pinpoint from him is that he is shooting 44% from the three-point land, which is solid. Spurs swept this season series, and for the most part, they won most of the games in double digits. So LaMarcus Aldridge, who is the newcomer to the San Antonio Spurs, of course, he's been in the playoffs before, but he has never been out the first round. He spent a season with Portland before coming to the San Antonio Spurs, so one would imagine that he get a little taste of the playoffs and get the advance further into the playoffs, everything like that. So as far as this series, the Grizzlies are depleted. They're injured. They're just. They try, man. They're feisty. They're scrappy. But word is that I know Tony Allen's been kind of going around with injuries, and there's a few other players been battling injuries. So they're just a whole. I would just call them the Memphis Magic team or something like that because they're really struggling with injuries right now. And the Spurs rolling, and I'm sure knowing the Spurs and knowing them this veteran team, they want to get this over quick and fast, and this will be over in 4. This will be a sweep. Good luck to the Grizzlies as far as next year, but I don't really see you beating the Spurs. So let's go into the next series. You got the Oklahoma City Thunder against the Dallas Mavericks. Oklahoma City is the 3rd seed in the West, and Dallas is the 6th seed. This series was also a 4-0 season sweep going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder has been having issues closing games. They've been outscored by 50 points in the final period, and during the stretch, since the All-Star break. They blew quarter leads of 9, 12, and 17. That's the big problem there as well. Their point differential has been in the negatives in the fourth quarter. Now, as far as the point differential in the first three quarters, it's been a plus in the double digits. For some odd reason, they're not able to close these games, so they're having problems with this. And this is something that is not only against the top contending teams. It's been against just regular teams and teams that have been on a playoff hunt and everything like that. So the Thunder are having a problem closing some games, and they need to figure this out and fast, because you go to the next round here, you're probably going to end up facing the Spurs, and with a well-oiled machine like that, you got a chance with your foot on their throat. You want to go ahead and take care of business. So, in that situation, you got Durant and Westbrook, who took 69% of their shots in clutch situations. So that screams to me that as talented as these two guys are, you need someone to help them take the pressure off, these two superstars that you have on your team. So the Mavs, for the most part, has been hanging out on a limb too, as far as getting to the playoffs, and were out of the playoff hunt. Now got back into the playoff hunt. But there was one point in time where they actually went 2-10, 2 wins and 10 losses in parts of March. It was March 3rd to 27th. And lately, over this past stretch over here, near the end of March to the beginning of April, they had to really switch their gears and do it on the defense side of the ball. So Dirk Nowitzki, great as he is, and a legend in his own right, everything like that, but he's been shooting 33% over his last 9 games. So you don't have any kind of shot at beating this Thunder team. Dirk Nowitzki is going to have to shoot a little bit better. I mean, I know you're asking a lot of a guy who's pushing 40, so, but, there's really no excuse. I'm not going to sit here and throw an excuse out for Dirk and everything like that, so he's a professional. So this is another series here. This is where the West last year was definitely the Wild Wild West, and it was always entertaining. You can always count on the first round being very competitive. It was neck and neck, but how the times have changed, and I believe this series here, I mean, just because I know the Thunder have issues closing the court, I can see them blowing one lead and giving Dallas one at home. Who knows, probably give them a little bit of a scare, and they have to buckle up a little bit and get it back on track. But nonetheless, I mean, Thunder, because of their issue that they've been having in the fourth quarter, I think the Mavs get one game. That's really it. I just give them one game, and it's probably going to get with Dirk getting a little bit hot from the field and everything like that. So, last series we're going to talk about is the Portland Trail Blazers and the Los Angeles Clippers. You got Blake Griffin, who is getting to the groove of things since being out with a torn quad injury and a 4-game suspension, where it would result in a conversation with his equipment manager. And friend, I don't want to go in details. You all know the story about that. So, but that resulted in being out for 45 games. Since then, I mean, he's really been struggling. He's been averaging about 10.7 rebounds, 4 assists in the 5 games that he's been playing in. I mean, that's needed to be said because he's been out for a while and everything like that, and he's still trying to get acclimated to, I'm sure, getting back in game shape and getting things out and figuring how the teams are gel without him and everything like that. So this is about him just trying to, get his feet wet before they go into, possibly the next series and everything like that. So you got Chris Paul and J.J. Redick combined for 35.8 points per game. And J.J., who is shooting 48% from the three-point land, percentage-wise, is leading the NBA. So J.J. is having one heck of a year shooting the ball from deep. So you got to keep an eye on him at all times and make sure he doesn't get open because he's a sniper from long range. But on the other hand, you got a wonderful, young, talented backcourt. I mean, obviously you know about Damian Lillard, but for most of you who don't know about C.J. McCollum, this tandem here actually combined 46 points per game average. So it's a solid team that they got going on here. The Trailblazers have won 18 games out of 22 during January 10th to March the 1st, including a 32-point smashing of the Warriors, which was surprising. So